Welcome to the Escaping Normal podcast, where I'm diving into the diaries of startup entrepreneurs living in Dubai. Now, I've got Asher in the studio here with me this morning. He recently left his job working in recruitment to set up his own online fitness coaching brand. Now, I'm going to have a conversation with him to uncover a little bit about his journey, some of his motivations for doing so, as well as why and how some of the challenges he's facing when it comes to starting his own business. We're also going to dive into some tips and tricks in order to ensure that you can be in the best shape of your life and healthy whilst working a busy life. Welcome to the podcast, Asher.
Thank you very much. I'm honored to be here and excited to have a conversation with you.
Amazing, amazing. Well, listen, first of all, I want to ask you, why did you leave a safe corporate job to start your own business?
I don't know, sometimes I think I'm crazy myself. Man, where do I even start? So I loved recruitment. I was really enjoying it. I was fairly good at it. However, it was never a passion for me, and I always wanted to do something for myself. I just knew it probably wasn't recruitment just because it wasn't necessarily a passion for me. So I was always looking at different things. I thought about doing this, other types of sales jobs. I thought about doing e-commerce at one point, but none of them resonated with me. And me as a person, I need quite a strong why and a passion to get behind something and put my time and effort into things, because I've always struggled with consistency outside of the gym. So that was just like, I need something a bit deeper than just, I want to make some money in order to start a business. So fitness was always a passion of mine. I'd done a personal training qualification years ago and trained some people on the side, but it was never really something I was taking that seriously. But then there was a guy actually in Kite Beach, I think it was Serbian. Some Serbian guy spoke barely any English, and he was already in pretty good shape. I complimented him. He was doing some pull-ups, and he saw me do a muscle up. And for some reason, this was my trigger point. Who knows why? Because he saw me do a muscle up, and he was trying to ask me how I was doing it in sort of broken English, and I helped him do it like on the spot, and it just gave me the best feeling ever. And a few people just before that had already spoken to me about me getting into the fitness industry. So it was already in my head, and that was like the trigger moment where I was like, you know what? I really enjoy this. This feels amazing. I'm so happy that this random Serbian dude can now do a muscle up just because I've helped him, and it just felt great. So after that, the rest was history. I found a guy who was already in the industry doing quite well. I said, this is all the money I pretty much have. Can you help me with this amount? And he was like, yep, sure. Sent me a link, paid him. I was terrified at the time. And then from there, I kind of had like a 5 to 6 month plan of where I need to be to quit my job and go full time. Because at this point, I already knew I loved this. This was like, I was loving every single moment of it.
How long before we go into that, how long were you in recruitment for?
Don't quote me on this, 4 years. No, it must be longer. Maybe 5 years. Yeah, around 5 years.
So after doing something for 4 or 5 years, I mean, you pretty into that industry. You know what you're talking about. You know what caused you to want to leave?
For me, and I was in sales before that, so I was always in a similar field to recruitment. All in all, probably around 8 years. Um, for me, it was the passion. It wasn't hating recruitment; it was the passion of coaching. As soon as I started getting my first transformations, I started getting my first few clients, and they started getting really good results, and I started feeling alive. I then realized that what kept me alive was a life of servitude, giving to people, helping people transform in the same way that I did. And for me, that was the best feeling ever. So as soon as that happened, I was like, wow, I have to do this full time as soon as possible. So after that, I just did not care about anything else. What I cared about was just the business, getting people into shape. That's it.
Now, where do you think that came from? That drive to kind of want to serve and want to sort of help people along their fitness journey.
Depends how far back I want to go. I mean, from a childhood perspective, my parents and my whole family, extended family too, they're all quite giving people. I was raised a Christian, and yeah, I was just used to giving. I grew up seeing people give a lot, so I think it came quite naturally to me. Both my parents were in the teaching field, so again, quite closely linked to coaching, and then I also when I first got into the gym, all of my friends around me after I got into really good shape, I started teaching them how to do it, and then literally all my close friends started looking like almost fitness models. Everyone was in really good shape, just because. And I dragged a lot of people out of some maybe not so great lifestyles into fitness. Some friends around me, so that it after I got into fitness, it all came quite naturally to me, and yeah, I love a life of servitude. I love waking up to give.
And when did your fitness sort of journey begin?
15.
15, yeah. You said that with confidence. You know, can you clearly
Yeah,
remember it?
yeah, 100%.
Tell me more.
Yeah, so I was like the laziest kid in the world. I was skinny. I just didn't like doing any form of exercise. I even joked around hating exercise. I just didn't like sports. Still don't like sports. But I was just the thought of moving my body. Just it was like, why would anyone want to do that? It was the worst thing ever. But then I started watching The World's Strongest Man. I started watching, and just like even just superheroes, like seeing like how good they could move and how strong they were. And I was like, wow, I want to feel like that. And I also wasn't happy with the results I was getting out of life. I didn't feel like I'd commanded any respect from other people, men and women. I didn't feel confident, internally confident. Externally, I was a bit of a jokester, but I didn't have any internal confidence. So I knew I had some work to do, and I knew I wanted a certain outcome out of life. So I knew that my skinny, frail frame would not command that. So I got to a point where I was like, I definitely want to try this weightlifting thing after seeing some videos on YouTube. And I begged my parents, because I was 15, I didn't have any money. I begged my parents to get me a weight set. They are pretty old fashioned. They thought that it would stunt my growth. And I was quite a short guy at the time. I was really struggled. I was quite a late bloomer. So I wanted to have some weight so I could lift them up. And I'm talking like 4 or 5 kilogram weights at the time. And I begged them. It took almost a year. So I was 14 at the time. It took almost a year for them to actually say yes. And then got my first weight set.
Crazy and so funny, because I think that story resonates exactly why I started in the gym. And I think a lot of people start in the gym. I was also that skinny, scrawny kid. I was also a bit of a late bloomer. You know, I went to an all-boys school, so I saw all the rugby players, all the big lads. They got all the respect. They got all the girls. And that was when I thought, probably also around sort of 16.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
You know?
Bingo. Exactly that as well. So my position in school, and I went to, it wasn't the greatest school, let's put it that way. And there was the guys who either were playing sports and they got all the girls because they were playing sports, or there were the guys who were kind of a little bit hood, doing some extracurricular activities, let's say, in the not legal fields, and they were getting all the girls because they were the cool guys. So I was kind of in between. I knew I didn't want that path, and I wasn't a sports guy. So I was like, well, I need to do something. I want a certain outcome out of life. So that's when the gym kind of came.
Now, what do you think the gym and everything you've learned from being in the gym has taught you from a mental perspective?
So, oh man, so much. It's almost, I'd almost say it's been my self-development journey. I don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg. Whether it be the fact that I wanted to work on my mentality and then the gym came after, or the gym helped me with my mentality. I couldn't even place the source. But for me, the sense of delayed gratification, consistency, and that consistency is now as like a superpower, because the gym was the first thing I was ever consistent with. Before that, I had done everything, every type of hobby you can imagine. From skateboarding, I was a skater kid at one point. I used to like making little paper guns, and I just couldn't stick to anything because after a month or so, I just got bored of it and wanted to move on. But the gym was the first thing I actually had a level of consistency with, and I've never really stopped, apart from around 2020 COVID-19 times. That was the only time I would say I just didn't go every single week, and I wasn't working out because the gyms were closed, but I still do a little bit. So that's the only time I ever had off to some degree. And now that consistency it's like a superpower. I can genuinely achieve anything now. And that's why when it came to the business, I took off quite quickly, and I worked really hard, but I was consistent and managed to yield results quite quickly. When it came to, I'm learning Ukrainian now. My partner, she's Ukrainian. I've only started maybe a month and some ago, but because of my consistency and my ability to understand how much work needs to be put into yield results, which I learned from the gym initially, I now am learning moderately quickly. Don't ask me to speak Ukrainian right now. But
That was my next question.
please don't. But I'm learning quite quickly, and I've got an app where I'm speaking to Ukrainians and learning their language quite quickly. So I'm like voice noting them and learning their language. I've just started running recently. I hated running before, up until now. Just started running. I know I can be consistent. I'm going to crush it there, and who knows where that could take me. So anything I start with seriousness, I know I can compete at a good level, just because of my level of consistency and work ethic that I've learned from the gym.
Well, I've always said, when do you ever see a fat, unhealthy person get out of a Lamborghini or Ferrari? Very seldomly, right? And I think it's because it comes down to the mindset that you develop in the gym or on the sports field, doing exercise, staying physically fit, translates into so many other parts of your life and into the business world. Now, what advice would you give to somebody that understands the importance of needing to get in shape, but they just don't know where to start? Where do they start?
So they want to get into shape, but they're not sure where to begin. So there's a lot of noise out there, is what I'd say. And if you go down the rabbit hole of going on the internet and looking up all these different diets, all these extreme things, and maybe not so extreme diets, and all these different types of workouts, what type of workouts do I do? It's going to give you a massive headache, and you're going to be more confused and less likely to make a move, which is really what's going to get you the result, is just moving forward with anything. The path in light is as you walk it. So as soon as you get the idea to walk the path, but when you get so confused with all the information out there, that's what's going to get you stuck, and it will likely make you not move forward in the first place. So you want to keep things as simple as humanly possible. Really, you have three main areas that you need to focus on. One's going to be just your daily movement. Two is going to be your nutrition, and three is going to be your exercise or training or movement, whatever you would like to call it. And just start with one. Just start with one. Forget the other two for now. Just start with one and just get consistent with one of those. So whether that just be starting with walking, but then do that, but have the ambition to then move on to the other two, because otherwise you can't just walk and expect to get good results. It has to be a combination of all three. So just start with one, keep it as simple as humanly possible, and then we work on it from there. You need to start with the foundation of, this is not a program I'm on. And I even tell my clients this before coming on board. It's not a program. I try to avoid using the word program the best I can. It's close to impossible, but I try to, because a program, it makes it sound like there's an end. What do you mean an end to your looking after your own body and your health and fitness? There's no end to this. This is a life journey. This is a self-development journey. And this is a journey that really never ends. This is something that we want to continue for the rest of our life. And I always use I'm rambling now. I always use my granddad as an example, in my opinion, the most successful man in the world. And that's not because he's achieved any financial success in that field. Unfortunately, I'm not a trust fund baby. He's a man who's dedicated his life to church. However, what he does have, he's 90 years old, just turned this year, and he works out twice a week and still swims. And he's 90 years old. His head's fully screwed on. You can have normal conversations. And that, to me, is the best thing in the world. And most fathers, mothers, or grandparents out there, all their children want is to see them healthy and grow in a healthy way. And for the people that don't have that necessarily, and their grandparents maybe didn't look after themselves, they know how horrible that is. So it is one of the most important things, just to look after your health. And that's what I want from people, I want to be like my granddad. And most billionaire 90-year-olds would rather be him than them, because most of them aren't in great shape and don't have health, which is the most important thing.
Now, how important is living a fit and healthy life with particular focus to an entrepreneur?
I think it's almost everything. To me, I don't know how people handle the stress of entrepreneurship. Sales or entrepreneurship, which is two quite unstable industries. I don't know how anyone does it without exercise. Like, how do you handle the stress? You tell me. I don't know. Like, I have no clear idea how people do it. Even since I've started running more, weightlifting is a massive stress relief, but running is also fantastic. And now it's like another tool to my armory, which I use like after a long day of sales calls or working with some intense clients. Sometimes I need a run. It's not even a choice. So I'd say it's almost essential just for your own well-being, never mind your health. So it's everything.
And how long have you been on this entrepreneurial journey for?
A year and a half. Yeah, a year and a half.
How's it going?
That's going really well. Yeah. I actually don't like that very broad statement. Entrepreneurship never always goes really well. Otherwise, it wouldn't be entrepreneurship. It's had its ups and downs. There's been times where, especially at the beginning, where again I had no base of what is well and what isn't well. So I was just kind of making things up, and because of the instability, even though I came from a field where it was fairly unstable anyway, because recruitment is quite commission based, whilst you do get a base salary, the uncertainty of when I'm going to be paid next is extremely stressful. So that was really difficult at the beginning, and I remember there was a few months where, looking back, it wasn't even that bad. But when I was in it, it felt like I was really struggling, and there were times where I was struggling with sleep. I was so stressed. There was a time where I woke up like genuinely screaming because I was so stressed, and my girlfriend was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And I was scared myself. So there was times like that for sure, but there's also been times where it's enabled me to do things that I would never be able to do otherwise. Whether it be just changing people's lives, I'm fortunate to be in a business where I'm transforming others, I'm helping other people, and I do live that life of servitude, which is the highest high I've felt this far anyway. Um, but yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing.
And what advice would you give to somebody that is potentially stuck in a corporate job, really doesn't enjoy it, has this idea that they want to pursue, but doesn't know where to begin? What's the first steps that they should take?
So, in my opinion, I think service-based industries are the simplest to set up, because there's less initial investment typically. So when you're selling a product, for example, then there's a lot more complexities. You have to find the right product fit, which you tend to have to do on a service. But a service can technically just use something that other people are selling in the first place, which makes it a little bit more of a simple entry. So I think service-based industries are simpler to set up, in my opinion. So I'd start there, and then I would look at what services you can provide to the market, and then just find someone else who's doing that, and then pay them some money and ask for help, because you have to pay them money to almost spill the blood in yourself, so you know you're going to be committed and dedicated to this, and two, so you can actually get their real advice and their actual support. Otherwise, you're not going to get responses as fast as you might like, and they'll have their own things going on. So you need to pay them to make sure they know that you're serious, and you know that you're serious.
No, I agree in the sense that, a service business is probably an easier entry in,
Yeah.
just because also your overheads are sort of a lot less, right? So there's no product development or anything along those lines. If you've, let's say, essentially got the knowledge, or someone that does, I feel like that upfront payment is probably not going to be as much and as time consuming as now having to go for more sort of product kind of focused business.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So now you said you found this guy, right, who managed to help you. So was this more like a bit of like was he sort of a mentor, or how would you position him?
At the time, because at this point now, I need to be a coach. Like, I had a burning passion. I was waking up when I'm thinking about is coaching, and when I'm zoned in on something, nothing else exists in the world. So I'm just like, I need to be a coach. I need to be a coach. And I was living with my roommate at the time, and he was hearing everything because I lived with him. And my very good friend, I shouldn't even call him a roommate. It's a disservice. A great friend, and I was asking him about if he knew any coaches, and I was looking online to find other coaches, because I knew that the more official mentors were just a bit expensive for what I had at that time, and I had a set amount. So I was like, well, this is how much I'm willing to give someone. I could probably find another coach who's willing to just tell me what he knows, and then that way I could learn how to deliver the service really well, pick up new clients online, as I never done it online before. So I was just kind of shopping around, and then my friend at the time who I was living with, he recommended me some guy that he knew from, I think it was school. I actually barely even remember, but he just kind of knew him-ish. And I shot him a message. He gave me a quick intro call, just saying, this is where I'm at, this is what I do, this is how I help people, this is how fast I've grown. And that was enough for me to be like, great, like, this is what I have, is that fine for you? And he was like, yep. Took the money obviously quite happily. And I still use a lot of his core frameworks to this day. It was really, really helpful. And at the time, I actually wasn't sure how helpful it was, because you need a bit of time for some momentum to build up. So I did question it at the time. I was like, is this actually helping me? Could I have just found this online? But looking back, it was actually one of my better decisions at the time.
Now, you were lucky, because you said that so you said there was a friend that introduced you to this. Now, what if someone is stuck and they don't have a friend that can introduce them to anyone? They don't know anyone in this field
Oh
or
yeah, yeah,
anything that
yeah.
can help them.
Okay, yeah,
How would you advise them to
yeah.
go and seek the help to get the coaching or the mentorship?
Yeah. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're gonna have to learn to be really resourceful. Almost nothing is there on the plate, and like if I didn't ask my friend to then pest him, it wasn't like he just delivered him on a plate. You know, I had to pester everybody around me, and I was looking. If it wasn't him, I would have just found someone else online, which would have been also fine for me. And since then, I've always invested in some form of mentorship, and those guys are just guys online. My one before the one I have now was some guy in America, so overseas, other end of the world, I just took the risk and did it. So you almost have to learn to be resourceful. So whether it be a friend of a friend, everyone knows somebody. Ask a cousin, a cousin's friend might know somebody. Somebody knows someone in that field, unless you're super niche, and you just want to find that person, and then just pay them. And don't get too picky with what the person is or who they are. As long as they can teach you the basics, then that's all you need. It's like you just need enough, and then you work with that, and then the rest is on you. That's how I see it.
You're saying being an entrepreneur, you need to be super resourceful. Now, what would you say was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in the start of your entrepreneurial journey?
Just stay insane. Just the mental stability. I stressed out a lot at the beginning, just because of the uncertainty of everything and my ambitions. My ambitions were so high. I wanted to be the biggest and the best and the best delivery straight away. And I just learned that some things just take some time, and you have to build on something. You can't just build everything completely brand new, amazing, and just deliver it and expect it to work. You have to start somewhere, building that, then building that, then building that, then building that, and then you can make that as fast as possible, so you can improve everything as quickly as possible. But you can't just expect to build some fantastic sculpture just like that. So I think it took me a while to understand that.
So you said you start here, then you got to move on to that.
Yeah, just that
What
you
what what's
build on.
that
Yeah.
what's that starting point?
So I mean, I started with just the core basic service, which technically speaking, I still have that same flagship product, but I've just learned and built on that to improve it and make sure that people get results, improve and just like over time just improve my services, and then also on the business growth side of things, um, I've had to learn how to get more clients because, for example, very quickly I washed out and used all my immediate connections that I had and all my friends and family members. That ran out pretty quickly. And at the time, I kind of managed to get a lot of clients just from that initially. And I was like, wow, man, this is easy. This is great. And then it got to a point where I had to convert a cold audience. And that's when the real business began, essentially, which was, and then you have to build on that. And then, yeah, you have to just continue from there. So,
So you're saying the advice is to go and speak with those people that you know.
oh, yeah,
First of all,
to begin, yeah, yeah.
start with that. Start with your warm audience. And for those that don't know what a warm audience is, it's those type of people that you have a relationship with, or you've spoken to, or they're following you on Instagram. Somebody that knows you personally.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, I'm not a business advisor. That's what I did, and that's what worked for me. And if it was me doing it again, I would do exactly the same thing. I'd write a warm list of every single person that I've met once, and then just start messaging them. And if I've got your number, email, Snapchat, I don't know who uses Snapchat anymore, but I don't. But any social media whatsoever, a pigeon carrier, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Find their contact, send them a message, and just ask them for a referral or some help. Use them as a free client, which is what I did at the beginning. And then free clients are terrible because they never listen. But try it just to begin, and that you'll build your own self confidence from there.
And you mentioned that when you took that leap, the hardest thing for you was overcoming the mental challenges and the barriers of now that uncertainty, right? What
Yeah.
what did you do? How did you cope with that?
So I guess it was the uncertainty, yes, but it was also just a lack of clarity over how good I should be doing at said points. I feel like looking back at it, I was I was so excited and ambitious about growing and like helping more people get into shape and trying to find elaborate ways of doing that. Then sometimes you almost forget the core just the core day-to-days and the core focuses, and you get shiny object syndrome, and everything starts looking exciting. Oh, should I add this to the program? Should I do this? Should I take this away? Should I hire this person? And very quickly you can lose sight of what's really important and some of the fundamentals. And I definitely would say, admittedly, that happened a number of times throughout my career so far, is shiny object syndrome. I'm just want to grow, and that's all I can think about, and I want to just be the best in the market. But by wanting to be the best, you can lose sight of being the best.
100% correct in saying that, because especially being an entrepreneur, right? Your mind's always going, you're always looking for that next kind of best kind of opportunity or something which can potentially make you more money, even if it's in that same field, right? But you've got to just simplify it, I think, in the start. Don't overcomplicate it, right? Keep things super, super simple, and then dial down and just focus on that. Focus on that one thing.
Yeah. So one thing I actually did when I first started is I was like, I need a support network around me. I'm quite people led in general. I like people around me. So I just messaged all the entrepreneurs I knew at that point. And most of them were kind of starting out or had very early beginnings of a business. There was 10 people in the WhatsApp group chat. I set some very basic ground rules of, this is kind of what I want from this group. We all work like doing some form of entrepreneurship. Let's just support each other, hold each other accountable, and push each other. Very quickly, that group died down to 3 of us, which we still have to this day. Now it's 4. We added someone recently, and that was massively helpful. And I find because of that group, we now speak with quite a few different entrepreneurs, just again to either support them or get support as well. And some of the main things that holds people back from starting a business is, I need this unique idea. I need this special idea that's going to take over the market. No, you don't. Like, it's not true at all. You can there's so many services out there. Why can't you just be another one of those services to begin, and then eventually you can create your own unique twist. Like after a while, once you've learned the foundation. But without the foundation, you're building on nothing. So that's one of the biggest things I hear is just, I need this unique, special, incredible idea no one else has ever done. That's unique to the market. Everyone wants. If you want to wait around for that, be my guest. But in the meantime, build a normal business and provide a service and just be good at it. And yes, if it's a competitive, saturated industry, great, it works. Just be slightly better than everyone else, at least, and you'll get some good results, and be way better than everyone else. And now you have a successful business, and then you can add a USP on top of that and probably get some success.
I think people do that because it's an escape. It's a form of procrastination, right? And it's an excuse. I need to have the perfect product or provide the perfect service, or it's too saturated. It's a very easy way for you to just kind of chicken out of actually going for it and diving in. Now that's where I think the power of community comes in. Now, you said you formed a WhatsApp group with some other entrepreneurs. How important do you think it is for entrepreneurs in various different industries with various different skill sets to come together to help each other?
I think again, I'm pretty pupil led, so each to their own. Some guys can just, or women can just be in a basement and just work all day long. The online coaching is a lonely game. Yes, I'm speaking to people all day, so I do have that, which is amazing. But from a business, I still have to be professional and keep. I'm a coach. I'm not their friend, so I'm a coach first. Whilst I do build great relationships with most of them, I'm still their coach. So a lot of the time I'm just alone working, and I'm going through all of this by myself, all of these struggles by myself, all of these the uncertainty by myself. It's extremely lonely. So even just for the support of having other people that have gone through things that you have, and maybe some mental struggles that you have, because you're almost your own compass at this point, I think that massively helps. So yeah, I think it's been really important. Also, just to touch on a point you mentioned about people making excuses, something that I've discovered recently. Again, I'm a fitness coach. I never enjoyed running, and I've made excuses for years around doing cardio. I've usually just walked a lot, and that was most of what I did anyway. Whereas running is the best thing that I found recently for mastering your own self-negotiation. Now, most people self-negotiate, and usually the devil on the shoulder beats the angel on the shoulder, because the devil knows you a lot more, and he can really twist your words in order to get you to eat the brownie that's in front of you, or to not go to the gym. It's very easy for the devil to convince you to opt out of doing something that's good for yourself for the long term, because he can use immediate gratification to convince you, and it's a lot more sexy to hear. Whereas Angel has a lot tougher of a job, and usually the Angel's not quite as good with their words, and it's very difficult for the Angel to convince you to keep running, for example, or to eat the healthier food, have some quinoa and some chicken, as opposed to a double fudge brownie. The devil tends to do a lot better of a job. However, running, especially when you don't have music on, which I do, some people think it's crazy, but I just prefer to run without music. When I'm running, I'm constantly convincing myself to keep going because my body tells me to stop. My devil on my shoulder tells me to stop. And it continues to do that almost every single step. Whereas I have to keep negotiating, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Don't listen to my body. And when you do that all the time, then it's like you're brainwashing yourself, you're hypnotizing yourself to then keep pushing in all areas of your life. Another thing that did that for me was fasting. So I don't eat anything in the morning until only 11:30. It's not that drastic.
What is fasting?
As in, I just don't eat anything before 11:30.
And you look like that. How do you keep the calories in?
It's only 11:30. So it's not. It's some would even not call it a fast. I'll just say I don't eat until 11:30.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's purely just for discipline. It's nothing to do with
Okay.
anything else. I just like to, when I'm hungry in the morning every day, like now actually, I tell myself I'm not going to eat, and I've done that for 2 years now. I've not even once, not even one breakfast, not even one. I have a black coffee or green tea in the morning sometimes, but just other than that, just water. I refuse to have anything before 11:30. I'll just never do it.
What are your thoughts on intermittent fasting then?
It can be a useful tool to lose some weight, but I plead people to only do things they have ambitions to do for the long term. So, for example, I'm not saying I'm going to fast like this forever, but I just right now enjoy it, and I've enjoyed it for the last 2 years, and I had a long term goal of doing this because of just the discipline around it. I think it really, really helps me because it gives me some structure around now a life where I create my own structure. So it just gives me something to stick to every day, and I do it. I'm like, I would never ever break that for the foreseeable.
And I think that comes down to all the way back to when you hit the gym, when you were younger, you learned that consistency, that dedication, that commitment. And that's a prime example of how you're able to now take that,
Yeah, in every area of my life. I'm a dedicated son. I'm very dedicated to my parents. I'm a dedicated brother. I'm dedicated to my girlfriend. I'm a big lover. Like I'm got most guys only just got flowers for their first Valentine's. I've got multiple flowers for my girlfriend. I'm learning Ukrainian for my girlfriend and her family. I'm dedicated to everything because of the amount of like love and passion I have that stemmed originally or was founded, you can say, from fitness. So I'm dedicated. Everything I do, I'll be dedicated. But that just I don't do many things. I'm pretty focused on very few things.
Social media. How important is social media and the role it plays for entrepreneurs in this day and age?
I think it's a really important tool. I think a lot of people say, "Oh, which social media should I start?" And they'll be asking that question for like a year. I'm just like, man, you should have started with one of them. And for me, that was LinkedIn. So for those who don't know, I built my brand almost solely on LinkedIn. I do have an Instagram, which I use here and there, but LinkedIn is the one I'm dedicated to. And that's really where I built, I'd say, 95% of my client base is just LinkedIn.
That's interesting because you being a fitness coach, I think most people would probably assume Instagram is the platform to get clients, right?
And it can be, yeah.
How has LinkedIn worked for you?
Yeah, so Instagram's also fantastic. Really, you can get clients with anything. I mean, there are some that are better than others. Like Instagram, I'd still say is number one because you can use visuals. But for me, I mean, I was using LinkedIn already from a recruitment standpoint, so I'm pretty good when it comes to understanding LinkedIn. Plus, I'd like to say I'm fairly good at writing, at least in the sense that I can grab attention through my words, and I'm good at writing copy. Writing as overall, don't ask me to write a book. I probably wouldn't be so good at that. So, but when it comes to LinkedIn, I've managed to build some form of audience, people that know me and like to hear what I have to say around fitness, and I can usually word things in a way that are somewhat interesting to read. So it's not your boring instructions around food. For example, I like to add a little twist to it, add some humor to it, because that's just who I am. I have dry humor. English people, we're kind of all the same, very dry humor, very straight to the point, a little bit sarcastic. So it's very difficult to bring out sarcasm in words, but I do my best to keep things somewhat entertaining to read. So LinkedIn, it has its downsides. Like, I mean, the visual aspects, you can't put transformation pictures up there, which is quite a handicap.
Why can't you do that?
LinkedIn doesn't like it. It's a professional platform.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
So what does it just not? It allows you to do it. It just doesn't like push. It just doesn't push it.
It was almost shadow ban you at a point. Like, you're not going to get much reach from a transformation picture. Every now and then, like, you can somehow like go around the algorithm and it works, but it's just I don't even bother anymore. I'd rather just get people onto separate links and show them that. So when it comes to social proof, that can be quite tough. Plus, a lot of the type of guys that I work with now don't love their like pictures to be out there. They don't love. Yeah, they're quite reserved, or they're like family men. They're quite senior in their field, so they don't love to be like on Instagram, flashy. Their transformation pictures everywhere. Some do, some are fine with it, but in general, it's a bit more conservative.
Who's your target market?
So I work with guys, mostly men now. The business started from women. It was funny, but I've just moved on to men quite naturally. I don't know, maybe it was my messaging. Maybe he knows what it is. But I just kind of found my field with men a bit more recently. However, I still do coach some women, and then people that are really busy, don't have a lot of time. Usually in like management, usually directors or business owners, and kind of understand the art of delegation. They know health and fitness is really important, but they're just over time, their health and fitness is just falling by the wayside. They've been working really hard with on their work, their family, but their health and fitness is just they're getting a little bit soft. They want to work on it. They want to be fitter. They don't want to go into their 40s and 50s in the same physique that they do now, and they know that it's not going to get any easier. The reality of it is you tend to regress as opposed to stay the same. So that tends to be what I help.
So do you think that's why probably LinkedIn was your sort of choice platform? Because if you're going after working professionals, your directors, LinkedIn's an incredible platform because it allows you to target those people specifically. Whereas when you're on Instagram, you don't have you don't have those job titles and the work experience, which I think might make trying to hone in and focus on and target your niche a lot harder than potentially something like a LinkedIn.
Yeah, there's pros and cons for both. I mean, a lot of the time those guys are on Instagram too, so they are accessible, but it's a lot tougher to find my diamond.
Yeah.
So I think there's pros and cons. LinkedIn has its cons for sure when it comes to like social proof, for example. I've helped a lot of people, well over 100 now already, and there's like a lot of these guys just opt out of showing their body. I mean, I've got enough transformations and I've got loads of social proof at this point. And my brand on LinkedIn is big enough where it's fine. But I would say that's the only like semi downside. Instagram's great. You can use visuals. You can get a bit more personal than LinkedIn. LinkedIn, there's still a level of professionalism that you need, which formally I'm quite a formal person anyway. Just my natural personality. I'm quite just professional. However, on Instagram, I could maybe show my day-to-day life a lot more. I can show stories, videos, and it's not LinkedIn kind of has that now, but it's not the same as Instagram.
Yeah, I think I can sort of see that, and I guess the optimal thing would be to use both, right?
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned to me earlier that you struggle with the editing side of Instagram.
Yeah,
Would you probably say that that's one of the reasons potentially why you go to sort of LinkedIn and not Instagram?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a camera person. I'm quite reserved myself. I'm pretty much. I like to coach. I really enjoy coaching. I like to do exercise. I like to spend time with my family and friends and my partner. Outside of that, I'm pretty chilled. I like to just have coffees every now and then. The thought of like getting on the camera, I'm not super extroverted. Even this, long form's okay for me. I prefer it. But I'm just not the type of guy to be doing shorts and be like, I'm Asher, I'm a fitness coach. It's just not in my natural personality. Now, I'm going to have to get over that one day because it's the industry, it's a necessary evil. But I'm far from like an influencer. I'm far from a guy who loves talking on camera and doing energetic shorts to grab attention. It's just not really in my nature. However, I've done it before because it's just necessary and I need to do it more. It's something my coaches tell me as well. It's very, very important.
So now, any fitness coach that's starting out their journey, that's trying to build their online fitness coaching personal brand online, right? What advice can you give them for getting clients? What approaches do you use in order to get your
Cool.
clients?
Yeah. So I want to start from the mindset because it is really just that important, and then I'm going to go into maybe a couple of practical things. So first and foremost, as a fitness coach, you should understand already, I'm hoping so, that like people really struggle when it comes to their health and fitness. It's something where they walk past the mirror, they don't feel like themselves anymore, they don't feel comfortable, they're not confident in how they look. Maybe they have troubles with their partner because of it. Maybe they've always had struggles when it comes to eating food, and they're overeating, they're emotionally eating, and this really like troubles them in their life. And if you haven't before, even try and live their life for even just a week and just try to understand how they feel, and how that can really impact their life in such a negative way, and make some people go through depression. For example, I was speaking with a girl recently, and she said that she had lost I think it was like 15-20 kilograms, and she said her depression is almost cured because of it. So I try to understand that, and now, and this is where the mindset comes in, everything now that you don't do in order to get a client and help them transform, I almost see it as on me. Now, I'm not saying for other people to do that. That's just how I do it. It's my duty as someone who knows how to get into shape, as someone who can give you the clear, direct pathway to help you. So that's where it comes back to the life of servitude. And that for me is the greatest high. That's why I don't drink alcohol. I haven't drank a drop of alcohol since I started coaching. I was drinking fine before, and my physique was fine. It wasn't a physical decision for me, or even a health one, to be honest. It was just drinking almost gives you no, it doesn't give you pleasure anymore. So I stopped. I haven't drank for probably a year and a half, coming up to 2 years. It's just a why. I can help someone get into shape. I'd rather do that. And that to me is like such a great high to me. That is just fantastic. So I'd say, as if you're a fitness coach and you want to like grow or get into the industry online, first of all, just understand that you need that burning passion of, I want to help somebody, I want to get someone into shape. And once you have that, then in order to get a client, just start helping people. Start having conversations with people about fitness, understand what their struggles are, understand what they actually might need, and then just provide that service, help them get into shape, and then just keep doing that. But it's the short of it.
So actually, recently I just watched a podcast with Alex Hormozy and Stephen Bartlett on the Diary of a CEO, right? And
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy says that before you go into a business, you need to have one of these three things, right? Passion,
Mm-hmm.
pain, or profession. Now, you need to either have an undesirable passion for what you want to get into, right? You need to have potentially felt some form of pain that it was so bad that now you want to try and solve that pain, or you've worked in that industry and you've got experience and profession.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what you just said there is you have to, for yourself, it was having that passion.
Yeah,
You have that passion, because that's the thing that drives you on the dark days, on the days when you feel like giving up, you're getting rejection. It's the passion which is fueling you.
Yeah, massively. Like, because I was so passionate and still am, any of the hurdles along the way almost felt like speed bumps, barely at that point. Because before there were like big things of how do I get clients, or do I have to leave my job to do this? It's gonna, I'm gonna be scared. I'm in a comfortable job right now, and I was actually doing quite good at that point specifically. I was about to go into my biggest month when I quit my job. So I was like, oh, should I wait another month? But when you're like so passionate, it's like that all just gets completely cleared. I don't care. I don't care about any of that stuff anymore. I don't care about investing into a business coach and taking that risk. It's all so meaningless to me, because all I care about is the growth of helping people get into shape. That's all I care about. So like it's almost, I'll say you need it to get over some of the tough hurdles that you're going to have to go through. It's just that burning desire, passion, and you're gonna have to figure out where that comes from. But for me, it started out as a life of servitude, and I'll say it still is, but it's grown to maybe some other things too as well now.
How many times a week do I need to go to the gym to get into shape?
Depends on where you're at. I try to avoid using blanket statements, and that's why people need a coach, is because one set program and path is just not going to work for everybody in the same way. To give advice to a 19-year-old guy who's got no responsibilities and he's skinny, is going to be very different to some overweight 40-year-old who's got arthritis. So I would hate to give information out there and have these like blanket statements. I mean, I can give you an overall general rule, and again, you've heard my warning before. depending on where you're at. But I think in order to get good results and as quick as possible, I think 4 is a magic number. I think 5 is great, but the difference between 4 and 5 is going to be a lot smaller than 3 and 4. I think 4, and I've tried and tested this a lot myself. I think 4 is a fantastic number to start if you can and manage to get to the gym
Why?
or work out that many times, because it's enough to see change. I've tried and tested this myself. It's enough to see change. 3 is enough. It's just going to be a bit slower, and 5 is better than 4 for most people, but 5 is a lot for a lot of people at the same time, just from a time perspective. So I think 4 is a fantastic number, but within that range is it's all okay. If you can only do two a week, do it. Don't use it as an excuse not to. But there's different forms of exercise. You don't need to be in the gym every time either. I've got clients that some they swim, some they play table tennis, some they play paddle, on top of the workouts because they don't have strength training. So you have to build something that's around you, but build something that you can stick to as well.
So 4 times a week, 4 or 5 times a week, optimal.
Yeah, three to if we're gonna put numbers on it, 3 to 5.
3 to 5. What does my diet look like?
So again, it very much depends on what your goals are. Because, for example, if I'm a skinny guy trying to gain some muscle, it's going to be very different to someone who's trying to lose a substantial amount of weight. However, I will give you a general rule. Is this is what I find works really well for my clients, and is something you can keep for the long term, and it's not super extreme. Is you want to stick to as much as possible single ingredients foods, and stick to like your generals. Your if you do eat meat, again, that's why it's hard to make blanket statements, because I have a lot of vegan clients too. But if you eat meat, for example, just stick to your steaks, chicken, and turkey as another alternative. Eggs are also fantastic. These are like foods that you can have. You can get a lot of protein from. They're fantastic. When it comes to like dairy products, I like Greek yogurt and I like cottage cheese. Again, pretty high in protein and some really healthy fats. And then you want to have a good amount of fruit and veg. So just stick to like your single ingredient, pretty healthy foods 80% of the time. 80% of the time is fantastic for maintenance. If you really want to transform your physique, go up to 90% of the time, because you need to go a little bit further to get those results. And you also want to get fast enough results so you can build momentum and stay motivated yourself. So then you want to go 90%. The rest of that, eat what you want within reason. I try to avoid like pizzas, for example. I had a pizza the other day. And man, I gained like a kilogram in a day. I very, very rarely eat pizza. The pizza before that, I have no idea when that would have been. I'm talking years. So like, it was very random. I just had a pizza and I was like, geez, that is heavy. I felt doughy. I didn't enjoy that. But I had burgers a bit more often than I had pizzas for sure. So outside of that, eat what you want, within reason. Again, my mentality to health and fitness is just eat foods that are going to make you feel good, that are going to give you as much nutrition as possible and get you through your day. Eat for performance, and eat for taste. Those should be your priority. And then that will then naturally help you lose weight and stay lean in the first place.
But actually, I just don't have time. I'm busy. How do you expect me to now cook these meals?
Okay, I know. I didn't mention cooking, so I said you don't have to cook. I don't cook, actually, funny enough. So there's plenty of services out there. Again, it depends on where you're at. So this is what I do for my clients: is I piece together where they're at, one even from a financial perspective. Because, say for example, I could say use something like they're not paying me to say this, but K-Cow, for example, or a meal prepping company. That can be fantastic for a lot of people, but if you're not based in Dubai, that can be quite costly. And even in Dubai, it's quite costly, but most other countries it's even more. So we'd have to look at some alternatives for you, depending on where you are in the world, depending on what your budgets are for food. But for example, I have one client, she's super busy. She lives in Estonia, actually. Random country, but lives in Estonia, and but she travels around Europe quite a bit, and I've created a meal plan for her, which is based on the shops that are around her. Now, there was, because she works in Germany sometimes and a few other countries, the language barrier was the toughest one about that meal plan. It was probably one of the toughest meal plans I've ever done, because each word, and like especially German words, are like super long. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's ridiculously long words. But anyway, back to the point. I had to build a meal plan based on the foods that she actually has access to, and that's what I do for my clients. Is I build a meal guidelines, and I try to make them as dynamic as possible, because the realistic life of a busy professional is not Monday eat omelets with spinach at 9 a.m. at 12 p.m. eat this. I never lived like that when I was in corporate. I don't expect anyone else to. So we just have to build stuff around your lifestyle, which is why, because my message is to do things bespoke, it's quite difficult to make blanket statements. But the best I can, I've done the best I can.
Why do most diets fail?
Diets. It's like I'm trying to use an analogy. Diets don't fail, people do. It's not an analogy. I couldn't think of one. But diets don't fail, people do. Diets are rarely the problem. It's usually the people behind them and sticking to them. And most of the time, people pick really extreme diets. I've never, ever, ever done any form of extreme diet for a long period of time, because one, the only time I've ever done it is just to test it out, so I can give better feedback to my clients. Outside of that, I've never done one for my own sake and my own benefit, because again, I don't pick things that I can't keep for a long period of time. Now, yes, for example, I'm not going to be in a calorie deficit forever, so that I wouldn't be in it for a long period of time, but that's not a diet technically. That's just a way of eating. Is how I'd probably frame it.
What is that?
A calorie deficit is just eating below the calories you're going to burn in a day, essentially. So I wouldn't go as far as to say I don't believe in diets, because they can be helpful, and it's almost like a bit of placebo. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm going to try this new diet, and that's going to like get you excited enough to start making some effort around your nutrition. However, most of the time people do diets and they stop them, very similar to programs. They do them and they stop them. And it's just a message I can never put out. My message is always, this is something you should do for life. Going back to my granddad, be the 90-year-old. He still works out twice a week and swims every now and then. And he farms as well. Picks stuff up off the ground, farms vegetables. That's where I want everyone to be, a healthy and fit older person too. And I love seeing older people taking their fitness seriously. It's the best thing ever. Best is, you want to talk about retirement funds, everyone's talking about finances and setting them up, putting money into the S&P 500, putting money into crypto, trying to set themselves up. Put some money behind your health and fitness. Invest into that. Make sure that you set yourself up for your future and health wise, because otherwise, man, I'm telling you, I speak to a lot of older people. It's not pretty if we don't start looking at these things.
Well, the best investment you can make is into your health, because no matter what, the moment your health declines, everything else falls away, and your priority and focus becomes on getting your health better. So that's the ironic thing, we take for granted our health until it's too late, and then we're stuck thinking, oh, well, I've got a great bank balance and I'm bedridden because, I didn't prioritize my health and fitness.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you see it all the time. I get clients calling in, or people before their clients calling in, and it's like, oh, Ash, I realized I was running after my kid last night, and then my heart started feeling a bit tight, and I started panting and wheezing quite a lot just from looking after my kid after a long day of work. I'm really unfit. I need to do something about this. I'm like, geez, like, man, we need to do something, because that's like tragic. It's your child. Or I just don't have energy to look after to look after my kids properly, or because of the diets that I'm bringing into my household, my kids are now eating the same thing and they're watching me. Kids watch a lot more than they listen, unfortunately. And kids will see your unhealthy food choices. They'll see you snacking. They see everything, and your kids are now going to follow that. So a lot of guys that I find, their motivation is actually their family, because guys are quite self-sacrificial to some degree. They'll put everything into providing for their family, everything into their work and their career, and they'll put their health in the line for it immediately, for both of those. And it's, to some degree, it's fair enough. I get it. I'm super ambitious too. I love working, and I overwork and don't sleep as much as I probably should sometimes too, because I like to work. So I get it. I'm the same. I'm no different. I'm no one special in that instance. However, health is undeniably really important. I don't think I need to sit here and convince people that that's the case. So for you and your family, and even for your work, you're going to be better off if you're fitter, healthier, sharper. That's for sure.
What are your thoughts on steroids?
I personally have never partook in any form of steroids. Honestly, I don't have strong opinions on it, just because it's just not really my world. I don't work with guys who tend to want to be on steroids, or even my look is probably too extreme for them. So I don't have a strong opinion on it. I just personally don't like to take anything like that, and would never will. It's just not really in my nature. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with my physique. I quite like a natural physique. I like looking lean and just fit. It's not really an interest of me of mine, but I don't have a strong opinion on it. And I'd be lying if I said I've done extensive research onto steroids. So each to their own is all I would say.
Now, what's next for you?
Great question. For me, I want to continue to keep growing at a rapid rate. I would love to have even more impactful transformations. I'd love to get more clients on podcasts so they can hear their stories, because as convincing as I might be, and I'd like to think I am when it comes to getting people into their health and fitness, the best salespeople ever are my clients. So I'd like to get more of them on podcasts, and so people can hear their stories and hopefully relate and want to change their life too for the better. No one regrets getting into fantastic shape and investing in a coach when it works. Their fear is that it's not going to work for them. So the more videos I have and the more pictures I have of social proof, the better. And then I just hope to grow as a business person. I hope to grow as a coach. I hope to improve. I hope to invest in myself more and just become better, deliver a better service. So that's that on the business side. I would love to. I'm starting a charity as well, which is quite slow moving at the moment, but I am on it. So I want to start a charity and keep with this life of servitude and help loads of people, ideally children in this instance. And yeah, that's a big thing that will be coming up at some point this year. I want to learn Ukrainian. No, I don't need to be like super fluent, just to a point where I can navigate my way around Ukraine and speak better. I'll speak to my partner's family. Um, those are my real focuses right now. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Now, to end things off, I ask this question to everyone that comes onto this podcast. Now, this podcast is called Escaping Normal.
Mm-hmm.
What does escaping normal mean to you? When you hear the words escaping normal,
Yeah.
what does that mean to you?
You should have started that at the beginning, man. Do you want a whole another podcast? That's a big topic. Oh man, my whole life's been based around escaping normal. I've always despised being like the same as everyone else for some reason. That could be stemmed from I have three sisters, so like just being the only boy, maybe wanting to be different. And I was raised around a lot of women outside of that as well, like aunties and cousins. So I've always just wanted to be different, and I had to find my own. So for me, escaping normal is really doing what you truly desire, and it's very difficult to actually do that. For example, I did a challenge the other day where I just went on ChatGPT and I just tried to design my dream life, and I did it. And I went back to my friendship group and I was like, "This is it," and they kind of pulled it apart, and quite quickly it became actually quite disingenuous to actually what I like. Like for example, I put some supercars on there. I don't even drive. I don't even like cars that much. I just put it there because that's what a dream life should look like. So technically, I was just doing it because it's normal to want that. Whereas what I actually enjoy and what I actually spend my money in now is, for example, travel. I actually genuinely enjoy it, and that's why I do it. Your bank account doesn't lie. If you ever want to find out who you are, look at your bank. That's what you spend your money on. So escaping normal to me is actually doing what you genuinely, truly desire and what you truly like out of life. And that is a journey you have to go on with yourself, because you're going to be different to me. But continuous, like if you were to go on my Notion, for example, which is like my planner, it is the most psychopathic thing you've probably ever seen. It's so detailed to all of the goals that I have, and a lot of my goals aren't just based around things that I want. It's actually based around character. The character I want to instill into my future family, the character that I want to bring into my business, the character that I want to be to my partner, to my friends. That's really important to me. So most of it's based around character. There are some other things in there as well, but it's to the details. The details are super important. So I've got an idea of what I like and what is truly genuinely like would fill me with joy if I was to achieve or if I was to be. And that to me is escaping normal. It's just being as authentic to who you are as an individual, because everyone's different. We all got different fingerprints. We're completely unique sets of humans. However, most people just follow the path that everyone else does just for the sake of it, because they don't know any different or because of fear. So it's like you almost need like a burning desire for life itself just to want to be you. Just be you. That's it. It's pretty much my biggest message out there. Just be who you are. Be unapologetically me. I love that. That's the best thing ever, and that to me has brought me fulfillment more than most things, at least. Just being actually who I am and what I actually like, and the vision of a character that I enjoy to be. Yeah.
But that's probably the best answer that I've actually got. That's a better answer than I could
Oh,
have that I could have given. Flip, bro. Well, dude, that just shows how perfect you were for me to come and have this conversation, with you. So thank you. Really, really appreciate your time.
thank you, man. I
Some
really
super
appreciate it.
valuable information in there. And hope to have you back on the podcast soon, a little bit later on in your journey, where we can have a look back and sort of be able to maybe advise and see, cool, how did you take those next steps and what you did. So good luck with all that.
Thank you
And
very
I'll
much.
chat to you soon.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate being here.